Have you ever noticed how your priorities begin to change as you grow older? The things that once seemed so important, like staying connected to a wide circle of friends, start to lose their urgency. You may even find that being surrounded by people all the time isn't as comforting as it used to be. And here's something that might surprise you. By the time you reach your 70s, having a lot of friends might not be as necessary as you think. That idea might sound strange at first. After all, aren't friendships supposed to be one of life's greatest treasures? But if you pause for a moment and really think about it, you may realize there's a quiet truth in that statement. As we age, something powerful begins to happen. We start valuing our independence, our peace, and our authenticity more than ever before. In this video, we're going to explore 6 powerful reasons why friendships might no longer play the same role in your life as they once did. And no, this isn't about loneliness. It's about liberation. It's about waking up each day and finally living life on your own terms without the invisible weight of outdated social expectations. Stick with me to the end, because what you're about to hear might not only free your mind from unnecessary obligations, it might just transform the way you look at aging and at yourself. Reason 1: you no longer need to prove yourself to anyone. One of the most freeing realizations that comes with age is this: you've already done enough. You've lived through the years where social validation felt like a requirement. Remember those times? When friendships were often tied to appearances, status, or fitting into a certain mold? Maybe you had to impress coworkers, keep up with acquaintances, or attend events you didn't even enjoy, just so you wouldn't be left out. So much of that was about being seen, accepted, or approved of by others. But now you don't need any of that. You've built a life, made your contributions, and learned what really matters. You no longer chase acceptance. You live for truth, for peace, and for your own sense of meaning. Think about it. How much energy did we waste trying to be liked, trying to impress, trying to keep people around us, even when the connection wasn't real? Let's take the story of Harold. He spent most of his life climbing the corporate ladder, surrounded by people all the time, co-workers, clients, casual friends. But when he retired, almost all of those relationships vanished. At first, Harold tried to maintain those old ties. He made calls, sent messages, tried to set up meetings. But something felt off. Why was he trying so hard to stay connected to people who had never truly known him? One day, he stopped chasing. And when he did, something amazing happened. He felt lighter, freer, happier. No more forced conversations, no more pretending. He picked up hobbies he had forgotten. He read more, walked more, and smiled more. Not because someone else told him to, but because he finally had space to be himself. That's the beauty of this phase in life. You realize that your worth isn't defined by how many people like you or how many friends you have. You no longer need outside validation to feel complete. You know who you are, and that's enough. Reason 2: peace begins to matter. More than socializing with time, you begin to crave something deeper than conversation. You crave peace, and not just silence, but the kind of calm that settles your soul. The kind that comes when you stop trying to meet everyone's expectations and just let yourself be. In your younger years, socializing may have felt like the center of life. Parties, get-togethers, dinners, calls. It was all exciting, sometimes even necessary. But over time, many of those interactions can start to feel empty, repetitive, even draining. Let's talk about Margaret. She's 74, and not too long ago, her calendar used to be packed. Brunches with friends, birthday gatherings, endless group chats. But after a while, she noticed something. The joy she once felt started to fade. The conversations became loops. same stories, same complaints. Some friends only called to gossip. Others wanted a listener but never truly listened back. One day, Margaret decided to step back. She stopped saying yes out of guilt. She stopped picking up calls that made her feel tired. And instead of filling her days with social noise, she filled them with meaning. She took long walks, she painted, she sat in her garden and just watched the birds. And something surprising happened. She didn't feel lonely. She felt at peace. Because peace isn't the absence of people, it's the presence of self. It's the freedom to choose quiet over chaos, calm over pressure. And when you reach a point where peace matters more than social validation, you start living in a completely different way. If you've ever pulled away from social obligations and felt guilty about it, let this be your reminder. You're not pulling away from life, you're stepping deeper into it, into the version that truly suits you, the one that brings calm, clarity, and joy. Let's continue with the story of Richard. Richard, now in his early 80s, was once the life of the party. His days were filled with dinner invites, group outings, and constant phone calls. Social activity was a core part of his identity until something shifted. Slowly, the long conversations that once gave him energy started to feel like a burden. The events he used to look forward to began to feel like chores. One afternoon, as he sat through yet another lunch, filled with small talk, old gossip, and complaints, it hit him. This isn't how I want to spend my time anymore. So Richard made a quiet, powerful decision. He stopped saying yes out of habit. He began to say no without guilt, without explanation, and without the fear of missing out. And instead of filling his calendar with obligations, he filled it with joy. He spent hours walking through his neighborhood, reading books that had long sat unopened, learning new things that sparked curiosity. He listened to music. He sat in silence. He let himself be. And the surprising thing? He didn't feel lonely. He felt free, fulfilled, peaceful. Because he wasn't living by anyone else's script anymore. He wasn't chasing connection out of duty. He was spending time on what mattered to him. And that's the truth many discover later in life. When you let go of friendships that no longer nourish you, you gain something even more precious. Time. Time to breathe. Time to enjoy. Time to simply exist on your own terms. So, if you're ever torn about whether to maintain a certain friendship, ask yourself, is this the best use of my time? Because after all these years, you've earned the right to decide what truly deserves your energy. Reason 5. The most meaningful companionship comes from within. There's a popular idea floating around that in order to be happy as you get older, you need a bustling social life. But here's something deeper and far more empowering. The most meaningful companionship you can have is the one you build with yourself. Think about it. By the time you're 70 or 80, you've lived through so many chapters. You've laughed, struggled, loved, lost, and grown. You know yourself better than anyone else possibly could. And with that knowledge comes a gentle wisdom. You are enough. For most of our lives, we're taught to look outside ourselves for happiness. We're told that being alone is something to avoid. That if you're not surrounded by people, you must be missing out. But the truth is, there's a powerful difference between being alone and being lonely. Some of the happiest people in their later years are those who have embraced solitude not as isolation, but as freedom, as peace, as a way back to themselves. Take Eleanor, for example. She's 76, and for most of her life she believed she needed to constantly be around others. She filled her days with visits, group chats, and plans. Her calendar was always full. But over time, she noticed something. She wasn't feeling uplifted. She was feeling exhausted. The conversations felt shallow, the friendships repetitive, and she often found herself molding who she was just to fit in. Until one day, she chose something different. She stopped reaching out to others just to avoid being alone. She took herself on walks. She visited cafes with her favorite book instead of filling the time with conversation. She began enjoying her own thoughts, her own rhythm. And what happened? She felt whole, at peace, light, happy. That's the truth so few people realize. When you become your own best company, you unlock a new kind of joy. You stop needing external validation. You stop waiting for the phone to ring. You stop needing others to fill the silence. Because the silence, it's no longer empty, it's sacred. And the beautiful twist? When you love your own company, you attract people who truly respect it. People who don't demand, who don't drain, who meet you where you are, with ease, not effort. So if you've ever worried that letting go of old friendships might leave you isolated, remember this. The most powerful connection you'll ever have is the one you create with yourself. Reason 6. Letting go leads to a more fulfilling life. One of the most transformative things you can do in your later years is this. Let go. Let go of the pressure to maintain friendships that don't bring you joy. Let go of the outdated idea that your social circle defines your value. Let go of the belief that being alone equals being unloved. Because the truth is, when you release those expectations, you open the door to a kind of life that's simpler, richer, and far more yours. Many people keep old friendships out of routine. They answer calls they don't want to take. They attend gatherings they no longer enjoy. They force conversations that don't feel real, all because they feel like they're supposed to. But what if you didn't have to do any of that? What if you gave yourself permission to step away from relationships that take more than they give, and instead poured your energy into the people, places, and practices that bring you joy? Take James, for instance. He's in his late 70s and used to believe that staying social was essential to healthy aging. He made an effort to keep in touch with everyone, even when those friendships had become hollow. He packed his days full of lunches and calls, but deep down he felt tired, unfulfilled, until he finally asked himself, "Why am I doing this?" So he stopped. He stopped chasing connection. He started choosing freedom. He spent more time outdoors, focused on his health, explored new interests, and built a rhythm that made sense to him, not to others. And in that shift, he discovered a joy he hadn't felt in years. Because letting go doesn't mean isolation. It means alignment. It means making space for the things that truly matter. And when you do that, life becomes lighter, simpler, and more meaningful than you ever imagined. As we wrap up, take a moment to reflect on what you've just heard. This message isn't about cutting people out or turning away from life. It's about turning toward yourself. It's about recognizing that your time, your peace, your happiness, these are no longer negotiable. You've earned this chapter. You've earned the freedom to say no. You've earned the joy of quiet mornings, of slow afternoons, of choosing only what uplifts you. So, what resonated most with you? Was it the idea that your worth doesn't depend on how many friends you have, or the reminder that peace can be more fulfilling than constant social noise? We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share your thoughts. And if this video spoke to you, please like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Your support helps us continue creating content that inspires and empowers. Thank you for watching, and never forget, you are enough, just as you are. We'll see you in the next video.